What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel here from the Geek Speak Nation channel, and I'm here to bring you my review of Baby Driver. So, Baby Driver is written and directed by Edgar Wright, of course famous for doing the Cornetto trilogy, which was Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead and At World's End, which is my personal favorite, and also Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Edgar Wright has completely solidified that he is one of my favorite directors working right now. Every project that he releases I always look forward to because it is wholly unique, and it is always something that feels just like a breath of fresh air every time I walk out of the cinema watching one of his films. So I was really excited to hear about Baby Driver, an American-based film which will be about a getaway driver and him trying to pay off his debt with the mob boss that he owes and trying to find a way out after he finds love in the city that he's in. So with that being said, Baby Driver was very exciting for me, especially considering the fact that Edgar Wright was going to go with the daunting task of trying to choreograph most of the film and all the action to music. I think was a really interesting choice and very ambitious, and it paid off. I think this film is spectacular. I think the choreography in and of itself is a masterclass of filmmaking. Being able to choreograph everything to fit, from the dialogue to the direction of the cinematography, the movement of the camera, the staging of every single scene, along with the editing as well and the musical cues. It's phenomenal, and this film is just absolutely jaw-dropping incredible. I haven't had this feeling of being in awe of just camera work in general since I had watched Birdman and The Revenant. It has that sense of magic whenever you're watching an action sequence go off. I just think it's absolutely incredible. The different tricks and the different just in-camera techniques that Edgar Wright uses in this film to really capture this action. But with that being said, I mean, of course, a film is great when you have great direction and great writing and things of that nature, but everything can fall apart if you don't have a good leading actor to hold it all together. And that's the character of Baby, portrayed by Ansel Elgort. His portrayal of Baby was just absolutely just great. It was just great. You really bought into his character of someone who has this kind of innocence about him and doesn't want to get his hand dirty in the business, but at the same time you totally bought him as this just this hardcore getaway driver and someone who knows what he is doing and knows how to get out of a situation for the most part and knows how to run. I just completely bought into everything that he was doing and into all the stunts and all the emotional beats and core of his character. I think it really worked. And I think what also works is his supporting cast as well. Even though Jon Bernthal's in there for a little bit, I really wish he was in there more because I found his character really interesting, but he ends up being replaced with another antagonistic force by Jamie Foxx, as well as Kevin Spacey, and then you have of course, you have Jon Hamm and the other actress in that film as well, all coming together to make a very interesting crew, and of course the other crew members that get replaced for different jobs and things of that nature. I find it really interesting, and they created a very intoxicating world of dirty cops and these crew members with lives that you don't know about and real names that you don't know about. All this universe that's kind of created inside of it is really interesting. But as great as these performances are and as great as these characters are and the acting is and the action is, this film, like every other film, is not without its flaws. And I think the flaws in this film definitely come in ways of the writing. Now, personally, I enjoyed the story and the dialogue. I think everything about that was sharp, but I did have problems when it came to the third act. Because with every Edgar Wright film, there comes that part where after the first and the second act are done, it is all hell breaks loose for the third act, and everything goes to the proverbial feces hits the fan and things of that nature. And I think when it happened in this film, it didn't quite stick the landing, kind of the same way it did at World's End, even though I personally think that's my favorite Edgar Wright film. It does that same thing of like, it doesn't quite stick the landing when everything starts to fall apart. I think it really loses its momentum and that sensibility, and instead instead of keeping it up and keeping us going from each story point after things start falling apart, it meanders and takes its time in ways that don't actually end up paying off in the end. And I think a lot of that has to do with just choosing a love story that isn't as fully fleshed out as it thinks it is. I think when you look at this film, either you are or you are not going to buy into the love story of this film. I personally did, and I was invested in Baby's love for Deborah, and I was totally in it for them wanting to get away and things of that nature and them falling in love. But it is easy for you to not truly get invested into that as much as the film wants you to, just based off how little time they have together. And when they are together, it is obviously not as exciting as when Baby's out working and doing heist and planning for heist and meeting up with crew members. Those scenes are infinitely, like 1,000 times more exciting and exhilarating. But nevertheless, these scenes are sweet and charming. It doesn't take away from the fact that they do slow the film down and its momentum is off-putted, and then you take those scenes and you take that same off-putted energy into the third act. That's when things start to unravel and things start to fall apart. But nevertheless, I still think it was a solid ending for this film, and I think that despite the twists and turns that it takes in the third act, compromising character motivations and the way characters were behaving throughout the film and changing them at the end, and just all these crazy different scenarios and the consequences and the burst of crazy violence, I still think the film still stands strong, and I think the overall package is still able to carry it through the finish line to a very stylistic end. And you get into the question with this film of, is it just style over substance, or is there enough substance there to match the style? And I think that's honestly going to be subjective for a lot of people. I think there is a lot of substance there in the film. There's a lot of emotional core. I think there are some weird plot choices and holes and character motivations that are completely amiss in the third act, but I still don't think it takes away from the awesome journey that it was, despite the pit stops along the way. I think you got to weigh the good and the bad, but overall I think the good outweighs the bad in this film, and overall I think I did get what I wanted out of this film, but not necessarily its ending. But with that being said, guys, I really enjoyed Baby Driver, and I think it's one of the best films of the summer. Definitely going to be one of the best of this year. I'm gonna have to give Baby Driver a 9 out of 10. A really strong film by Edgar Wright. Not my favorite, but my God, did he direct the heck out of this movie. He does incredible stuff with the camera and his writing. The dialogue is sharp. Everything about it is sharp. It just has some issues in it. What film doesn't? But with that being said, guys, let me know what you thought of Baby Driver. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment sections down below. And if you like my review of Baby Driver, don't forget to go down there and hit that like button. And if you're new here to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to get more content like this and become a part of the Geek Nation. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Daniel, and don't forget to get geeky.